Hello everyone and welcome to Tom's Tomb of Horror. So it's time for another film ranking here on the channel, and this time I'm tackling the video game inspired Silent Hill films. There are three films here which I'll be ranking from my least favourite to my favourite. This includes Silent Hill from 2006, Silent Hill Revelation from 2012, and of course the most recent film, Return to Silent Hill from this year. So I want to stress, first of all, I wouldn't consider myself any kind of authority on the Silent Hill video games. It's been years and years since I played any of those games. I do remember loving playing Silent Hill 2 from the early 2000s. And, feeling like that was a really rewarding experience because I can remember how the story developed, all the different cutscenes, the fantastic atmosphere of the games. And, also another big standout for me in my memory of the Silent Hill games is the music of Akira Yamaoka, which I always thought was just absolutely fantastic. And, perhaps the best video game music that there's ever been to my knowledge or to my memory. I think it was just such a standout thing about Silent Hill. So I want to stress that first because this ranking is going to be more based on my experience of these as films than necessarily as adaptations as such, because I probably won't be able to spot all the inconsistencies between the games and the films that probably many of you out there will spot. Anyway, this is going to be therefore very much my own ranking. Do drop your own rankings in the comments. I look forward to reading those. And if you're new to the channel, please do drop a like and a sub. It supports everything I do here in the too. So anyway, let's start with my third and least favourite ranked film in this franchise. That's going to be Silent Hill Revelation from 2012. And, despite this being my least favourite film, it kind of, for me, works more as a guilty pleasure. I kind of find this film, at times it's so goofy and so bad, it is hilarious. It's fun to watch. Who can forget Kit Harington's line as Vincent, because I am a child of the order. And then the melodramatic music kicks in. I just think that is just, it's a fun moment in the film for me. And, you have the dialogue in this film is pretty bad, you've got to say. But, on the flip side, there are positives, I think, to this film. I do think it has some great monster sequences. I think that Adelaide Clemens actually does really well, considering the material she's given for this film. I think she does really well. Her performance is really good, and certainly a standout for Silent Hill Revelation. And I thought a couple of characters were a bit underused, like Douglas Cartland and Martin Donovan as Douglas Cartland. I thought, he certainly could have played more of a role, a more interesting role in this film than what he was given. And just overall, it's pretty inconsistent in terms of how it follows on. There's continuity from the first film. There are problems here that I recall. I seem to think that the way Alessa's burning was explained changed from the first film. Like in the first film, I thought it was that she was to be purged of her sins, but in this film, in Revelation, it's because she's got a demon inside her or something. So I all found it a little bit confusing. But on a certain level, this film is thoroughly entertaining, and I think I get something actually out of all three of these films, even this one. I think it's just a lot of entertainment. I actually defended it on Sledgehammer Horror back in 2024. I could even link in that video in the description box so you can go and check that out. Yeah, I just find it thoroughly entertaining. I think it's got its plus points, but it obviously has some quite considerable flaws, which is why I'm ranking this one at the bottom. Now, next up at number 2, I've gone for the most recent film, Return to Silent Hill, which I thought, is a step up from Revelation. For me personally, I do still think it has a lot of flaws, and again, some inconsistencies that I remember even from playing the second game. And I feel like the characters, the supporting characters like Eddie and Angela were not given much depth or time really, and it felt like they were paper thin really, and sort of their moments in the film felt very, very undercooked and not quite right. I thought that James's portrayal was okay. I actually will commend. I thought Hannah Emily Anderson's performance, a bit like Adelaide Clemens in Revelation, I thought she did a pretty good job as Mary and Maria. Again, with the dialogue that there was, and this film had really quite poor dialogue. I certainly think that the original Silent Hill from 2006, while still not having amazing dialogue, it was much better in that respect and better written. This one really, I think, suffered from some quite bad writing. But anyway, I've ranked this number 2 because for me it delivered well on nostalgia and Easter eggs from the second game, which is the one I most remember playing. I just got I got again some entertainment out of the monster sequences, even though the CGI seems to look oddly outdated for this film. But I still liked a lot of the visuals. I loved the music cues, the Akira Yamaoka music cues, and just overall, I felt like the film had a certain glue to it. I couldn't stop watching it. And I think that's a good sign. The fact I couldn't bring myself away from this film, despite all of its problems that I knew were unfolding before me, there was something kind of addicting about it, something about Return to Silent Hill that I couldn't pull myself away from. Actually, I saw this in the theatre and I needed to go to the toilet, but I was kind of like, I don't want to go because I kind of want to see what they do next and how it triggers my memories of the game. So, a kind of interesting experience with this one. As I said in my short, I kind of still loved it despite all of its problems, and it's why it comes in here at number 2, but it's not quite my number 1. My number 1 is going to be very, very obvious for this ranking. It's Silent Hill from 2006. And I think even though this still is far from a perfect film, it does a lot more right in film terms for me than the other two do. It feels like it's got a more linear, more understandable narrative. It treats the characters in the film much better, has better script, I think, and better directing, and just kind of like, it captures the atmosphere of the games, perhaps best out of all 3 of these films as well, and it has a good pacing to it, to create suspense and to create more of that Silent Hill tension that many of you that have played the games, as I say, probably more than I have, will be much more familiar with. And I really liked Laurie Holden as the badass cop Sybil. Actually, I think she's kind of, she's kind of an underrated supporting character in this film. And I liked all the sort of the developments around the characters as well. And I thought that, as shown in the lesser story, the way that was explained was quite a memorable point in this film, and very, very dark and sort of sinister. And I thought overall this film did a much more convincing job of, developing a Silent Hill story and adapting it to the screen than the other 2 did. Basically, at the end of the day, it's kind of that simple as to why this one is my number 1. And I honestly, deep down, I'm going to admit that I sort of love all 3 of these films despite all the flaws, and I understand all the anger that the recent films have had in particular, and Return to Silent Hill in particular has had. But sometimes I approach these films just like with a very low level of expectations, and I think you have to with a lot of adaptations and a lot of video game adaptations in particular. You have to go in with very low expectations, and because of that, I enjoyed Return to Silent Hill. And Silent Hill, though, 2006 is my number 1. Let me know what you thought of these films in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you. Otherwise, until next time on The Tomb, it is bye for now.